find out what happens today, Andre. And our first series of the day will be between MVP SC and Complexity Trimaster.
Yeah, Trimaster, absolutely fantastic play as of lately. Actually beat Marine King Prime. Yes, I said the right person. Marine King Prime in the most recent MLG in Raleigh. I am so looking forward to this guy because he's a person that had that 15 minutes of fame for, I guess, defeating Idra in one of the earlier MLGs, and he had a pretty decent run, and then we didn't hear anything of him. And a lot of people are like, oh, that was a one-hit wonder, you know, that was a fluke for him. And then he comes in again for another MLG and just really surprises or re-surprises everybody. I really feel like Trimaster is one of the best Terrans in all of North America. And I do want to say I played Trimaster on ladder, and I beat him.
A small little caveat. That's how Gretorp will always end everything. Andre, whenever you introduce a player, you should always tell people whether or not you beat him or lost to him on ladder.
In his defense, he was off racing at Zerg.
Yeah, he was at Zerg, right? And you were playing Protoss? Were you playing Protoss?
I was playing Terran.
You were playing Terran. Oh, so Gretorp was trying hard.
I'm going to try hard, bro.
Let's go ahead and introduce our player. Starting in the bottom right, walling off the top of his ramp. Very common to do on Ohana and most TVT matchups. It's Trimaster from Team Complexity. One of the guys that is one of the up-and-comers from their North American team. A lot of people kind of look at Complexity, look at people like Hart, look at Killer, and for a while it was Nada when he was acquired but has since retired. And they forget about like the North American guys, but Sasquatch, QXE, Trimaster, Ghost User, all these guys are really up-and-coming. Keep an eye out for them because I would love to see someone like Trimaster in Season 4.
Yeah, I was actually just watching a Complexity member, Sasquatch, as you just said, against Dragon. They had a little... I guess a little show match, and I was just watching. I was admiring Complexity players have really stepped up in the last, I would say, 6 months. I mean, I remember watching Complexity, and yes, they were a good North American team, or generally North American, but I wasn't super blown away. I wasn't impressed with the decision making, but Sasquatch is definitely one of those players. Trimaster is one of those players, Complexity players, or even the North American team. I think even though they're getting a ton of flack this day and age, they're really stepping up their game, and we're going to see a North American really shine pretty soon.
Over the top left, we have from Team MVP, a former semifinalist in GSL. It's SC, a guy that actually had a lot of problems with his health. A lot of people had high hopes because SC was showing a form of Terran that a lot of people weren't necessarily too used to back when I think he was playing against Losira in GSL. A lot of people were seeing just pure Marine aggression. If you can remember that, SC was a guy who was just making mass Marines and mass Marines and just kept flooding them to your base. He was a guy that had high APM, high multitasking, very exciting player to watch. And now he's kind of, people forgotten about him. He's kind of fallen into the category of players like Top and Rain from Fnatic, who got really far in GSL, but still have a lot of proving ground. And now he's on Team MVP. And the Genius has been on record to say that SC, he thinks, is one of the best Terrans on MVP, if not the best Terran, even over Keen.
That's absolutely insane, in my opinion. Of course,
Keen, I think Keen is good.
Absolutely. Yeah. Me and Golden, actually, were talking about how good Keen was. Him and Keen had a big Code A match. And I remember he was training for it, he was preparing for it, and he was like, Keen is so good. He's looking at all the builds. So for the SC, excuse me. Oh my God, I just combined STC and SC. For SC to actually be called a better player than Keen, I think, has to really reinforce how good of a player he is. We're going to see what he does in game number 1 over here, as it looks like he's going for just this 1-1-1. It's a Hellion Marine drop to start off early pressure.
Yeah, it's a nice way to grab map control as well, but of course, he is behind economically in order to do that. So, but at the same time, you can kind of justify it because you have, again, more map presence and you have tech out, and if you can keep the worker count low, that's kind of why Terrans have been opening very aggressive. And in general, a lot of people consider going for fast expanse just pretty greedy because of the nature of how aggressive you can be early on. But again, it comes down to how well SC can execute. Ooh. Now, keep in mind, SC is playing from Korea, so there is a slight little delay. But nonetheless, SC's always been renowned for his micro, so I expect it to be pristine as per usual.
Absolutely. And it's very difficult for Trimaster to actually read into this, that it's going to be something like Marine Hellion. Although this should actually give it away. The fact that there's multiple Hellions actually tells you, hey, I have to be careful for some sort of Marine Hellion drop. And I think Trimaster doesn't have enough stuff He just doesn't have... This is exactly how you defend it. You have to have a bunker in a good position. He's actually putting up a bunker over here to defend his stim, but really the most important place is going to be directly over at your mineral line. This is still going to be a very difficult drop to actually defend.
Yeah, Trimaster's also setting up a turret on the right-hand side of his base to zone off any potential air units, especially the medevac. And Andre, whenever we saw this, because a lot of people used to do Reaper Heli, and you always said put it right next to Command Center in case he decides to ever just run by the bunker, because he can just kind of avoid that bunker.
Nice.
But, I mean, SC's going to go ahead and ferry his Marines as well, and Trimaster does have the bunker here, and another Marine coming to add some good DPS, but SC's just going to go ahead and bypass, and that's what we're talking about. There's nothing stopping SC to just really micro from this point, but has to be really cautious with his medevac, and the control from SC has been pretty decent. He's going to be able to clean up a lot of these Marines as well. And all of a sudden, Trimaster is going to lose a lot of his SCVs unless he can evacuate from the situation.
Ooh, SC actually isn't targeting anything. A refinery in control. Come on, man. You're teaching these players bad form. But we have the Marines finally cleaning everything up. But the SC is going to actually reinforce with another round of units. He needs to do a little bit more damage. Obviously, it just has not been effective enough, but now it's actually going to start affecting his opponent. 31 harvesters to 30, and now in a corner, I think SC will have to pick up from here. And he doesn't, loses a ton. Wow, that's not good. Trimaster way ahead from this.
Almost loses the second one, but yeah, Trimaster managed to keep a pretty decent SCV count, and he does have double orbital compared to his opponents, so he will be able to replenish much quicker. So even though, yes, SC is ahead in the worker count, take that with a grain of salt currently at the moment.
What's so powerful right now is the fact that Stim is done, +1's on the way, combat shield's already done, or excuse me, on the way. It's just about 50%, whereas the SC really doesn't, I keep saying, SC really doesn't have any capacity for that ground control. So Trimaster just knows my opponent's only offense, the only way that they can maintain some sort of map control is some form of finesse play, whether it be a drop, whether it be banshees, whether it be, that's about it. So that being said, what he should do is just turret up everywhere, that's very good, and just have all of his rallies inside. Take map control, and I would actually go for some sort of third base. A third base would be really nice, knowing that your opponent is just so far behind economically. Trimaster is just way, way ahead because of that.
Now Trimaster can reestablish map control now that he has pretty decent upgrades on all of his Marines. Going to take the watchtowers now. SC at this point does have, again, that tech advantage, and he started his siege tank count a lot earlier. And now it gets to the point where, I mean, SC is going to be really safe if he can get his siege tank in position, but his Trimaster sees an opportunity. He's going to go for a massive stim as well, and SC doesn't have stim ready for his Marines, but he's got to pull his SCVs, and Trimaster is going to be able to kill several of these SCVs, but was it a worthwhile attack, Andre?
I think so. That might sound a little bit weird, but income tab, it's going to actually reduce the amount of SCVs for SC, and this Banshee really isn't doing anything. Now, he does trade kind of inefficiently there. If you look at units lost, yes, he loses a tad bit less, but what he does is actually reduces the Marine count and sees exactly what his opponent is going. The tanks actually immobilize, I shouldn't say immobilize, but reduce the mobility of SC. He really cannot do that much. So all Trimaster has to do is do this defensive positioning, get a couple of Marauders, force his opponent to be a lot slower, and then rely on his siege tank count to actually, or his own siege tanks, to really grasp the third base. That's going to be one of the most important things. Trimaster, I think, still retains his advantage, and I can't see a way for really SC to have any potential timings if Trimaster plays absolutely correct.
Andre, what do you think about Marine tank nowadays, especially on a map like Ohana? A lot of Terran players have really been favoring mech, especially the Korean Terrans like Gumiho, and just general consensus that mech is very, very good in this state of TVT.
Yeah.
What do you think about Marine tank on Ohana?
You know, Marine tank is something that you never want to be the initiator of it. If you do go Marine tank, then you're in a position where your opponent can go defensive Marine tanks and just put in that extra command center right before you. They will have the economic advantage theoretically. And the reason why you can always defend against it is that siege tanks need to get into position. Now, Ohana does lend itself to one position where you can actually take this outer area and then start sieging up on the main. But really beyond that, it doesn't have any huge advantages that I would really constitute, going Marine tank. And once I go defensive siege tanks, it basically shuts that down pretty extensively. Not only that, there's a lot of better alternatives. Marine Marauder was in fashion for a very long time, and then it switched over to mech, and then it was just that constant dynamic. And all of a sudden, Marine tank came in and surprised. That's what it did. It actually surprised Marine Marauder. It's really cost efficient. Down goes the Banshee, by the way. But it's really cost efficient against Marine Marauder, but that's only if you catch your opponent off guard. So Trimaster, just the fact that he's been able to react to Marine tank should substantiate some sort of big advantage as soon as this actually goes across the map.
Well, Trimaster now sees the entire 4-tank force from SC, and SC, of course, could just be threatened to move out and protect his third expansion. Marine tank also spreads itself pretty thin sometimes in their early siege tank count, and that's why a lot of times players try to drop early. That's why I love the sensor tower from SC very early on. A lot of Terran players undervalue that, Andre.
Yeah, I think the sensor tower is probably one of the most imbalanced thing ever. TT1 was famously, actually, when we were back on Fnatic, this is back in the day, okay? He did used to hack. I don't want to call too much attention to it, but that's when he was in Brood War. It was a long time ago. But now he doesn't hack, but he said, damn, if I had sensor towers, there's no reason for me to ever hack. That's how good he thinks sensor towers are.
That's how good TT1 says.
I have to agree. Here we go, the first engagement, and not looking good for Trimaster.
Well, Trimaster only has 2 tanks, and he doesn't have a third one in position. And SC, the one thing that doesn't have his advantage is that Trimaster controls the tower, which gives him a lot more circumference in his vision, but he's completely left his third wide open, and it's going to be really tough for Trimaster to be able to dive at the tank line. Unless SC just going to leave it all together, and the Marines are going to go straight for it. SC comes back immediately, and now gets to the very delicate point of how far do I commit my units before just leaving the tanks wide open. Trimaster's going to also go for a Marine drop with his medevac, the third under heavy siege, but the Marines catch the medevac. Is a huge play here, and Trimaster's also losing his third command center. SC making brilliant moves here, and he snipes the command center.
Trimaster's so far behind. You know, the big problem is actually, yes, it's good to have that watchtower over here, but it's not necessary and actually shouldn't be. It shouldn't be the case where you actually take that. There's just too much position that you have to defend, especially with the low count of siege tanks. Now, yes, Trimaster's going to pick off one single tank, but still, when we look back on it, I mean, the big advantage goes to SC. Now, why did Trimaster actually lose that? Well, the big thing is, as I said, the Xel'Naga Tower being caught out of position, not actually having good map vision around this particular lane, but I think more importantly, his Marines. He took way too many shots on his Marines from the siege tanks. It softened everything up, and it really disallowed him from doing anything of use. Like, he couldn't, he was too far down. So the correct thing would have been, as soon as he actually takes all those shots, unsiege, back up, defend this area, and know that you have an economic advantage. But right now, I mean, now SC is actually, okay, no, there's 3 siege tanks up here.
Oh, massive damage, and Trimaster loses, at least visually, 1/3 of his Marines, and that just completely restricts his ability to protect his tanks and be able to grab positioning. Trimaster anxiously wants to move into the third of SC because he's down such a significant amount of economy. SC can just afford so many more Marines, 14 in the from Trimaster, but still SC just has way more control because of the tank count. He's able to preserve it, controls the tower, and this is kind of the defense line that Trimaster needed. He's able to cover not only between the watchtower and the 4th expansion, but also the high ground as long as SC can get vision there.
Yeah, this attack doesn't make sense by Trimaster. You're not really going to accomplish anything going down this narrow little choke. You're putting your units in a terrible position. Meanwhile, this command center is going to get picked up. It's not a good way to actually try to, you know, I guess exercise your advantage, which is in the upgrade advantage, but now SE is going to come in here. Look at how awkward these units on the right-hand side are. They just have no place being over there. They don't really do anything. The natural goes down. There is a Doom drop, but watch how fast this actually gets eliminated. GG.
Oh, wow, GG. Trimaster trying to go for a desperation drop, but not enough. And SE takes game number 1 on Ohana. And guys, it is a best of 3 single elimination all the way through. The finals will be best of 5, but only the final 2 players, the top 2 players, get any kind of reward. Yeah. First place gets $750 and a spot in NASL Season 4, and runner-up gets $250.
Let me explain how Trimaster should have actually approached the other than the positioning. You know, the theory behind it is that you're only going to be attacking with, let's say, a max of 4, maybe 5 siege tanks. Well, if I'm doing reactive Marine siege tank, I'm getting, I have maybe 2 or 3 siege tanks. Because I have that expansion a little bit earlier, I will be able to get more factories than you. So generally, you should be able to outmass them maybe 3-4 minutes later. But the big thing is, how much does each siege tank actually constitute? If I only have 1 factory, I get an additional siege tank out. That's 33% more siege tanks. That's actually a really good advantage. Whereas when you're later on in the game, when it's like, let's say, a 10 siege tank push, that defense doesn't really work. You need to actually build on that siege tank count the whole time. So I really feel like theoretically, Trimaster should have been able to defend that with his siege tank count and just waited, and then pushed out with a huge siege tank count, knowing that he would have had the gas advantage. But in that position, I mean, he just traded too early, and he lost the game because of that. That's long-winded. I shouldn't have gone into that.
That's right. With a strong advantage, SC was able to take good positioning and take game number 1. We'll find out what happens in game number 2. Will Trimaster come back, or will SC end his dreams early? We'll find out when we return.